The previous iterations of the African Cup of Nations has been disrespected and criticized by the Western media. They have lambasted the tournament for having a lack of quality as well as a disorganization, and some have even described it as unimportant. However, this year's tournament cannot be described in that same fold whatsoever. Incredible infrastructure, fans showing up in their masses, stadiums filled to the brim, managers showing their tactical nous, players showing their quality in the biggest stage. The teams that people saw as favorites going into the tournament were the teams that we saw in the later rounds of the tournament. Amad Diallo and Diomande shone for Ivory Coast as the reigning champions played beautiful football throughout the tournament, but unfortunately fell against Egypt after an incredible 3-0 win against Burkina Faso in the round of 16. A clinical Egypt side, as we just mentioned, saw off Ivory Coast in the quarterfinals and showed their clinical edge in that game, despite being the team under the cosh throughout. Mohamed Salah Silas's doubters once again in this tournament after poor form at Liverpool, but once again turned up for Egypt when it mattered most. Unfortunately for him in Egypt, they once again fell to Sadio Mane and Senegal. Boubina and Ibrahim Maza look to be the next era of Algerian football, as star man Riyad Mahrez did not really put up any trees in this tournament. Their beautiful style of play managed by Petkovic at the dugout, and they were putting up incredible performances in the group stages, as well as a last-minute winner against Congo in the round of 16. A Congolese side that were in some ways led by Michel Kukambola-Dinga, sorry to my Congolese if I got that name incorrect, who led the side from the stands as he stood throughout every single Congolese match in tribute of the late Patrice Lumumba, a former Congolese prime minister who stood for African nationalism. Never say you don't learn anything on this channel. Alex Iwobi, Calvin Bassey, and Ademola Lookman shunned for the Super Eagles as Nigeria were arguably the best side going into the latter stages of the tournament. Unfortunately, we saw a return to the pragmatic style of play that they showed throughout the qualifiers that meant they didn't qualify to the World Cup, and ultimately they fell out on penalties to Morocco. The host Morocco came into this tournament with incredible weight on their shoulders, with a huge expectancy by a boisterous crowd to be the winners of the AFCON for the first time in over 50 years. Slender wins over Tanzania as well as Nigeria were highlights in an overall incredible tournament for Morocco, as Brahim Diaz and Al-Kabi shone throughout the tournament alongside captain Achraf Hakimi. And ultimately, Senegal did the unthinkable, coming out winners against Morocco in Morocco after a Papa Gueye screamer. The win secures Senegal their second ever AFCON and also puts Sadio Mane's name in the pantheon of greats. Unfortunately, the final was stained by referee incompetence as Senegal abandoned the game in the final moments of the game after a penalty was given to Morocco. But as some people would say, ball don't lie. Brahim Diaz took a penalty with his weaker foot and he did a panenka. I think he did that on purpose. However, the drama, chaos, and sheer unseriousness of this entire tournament is what we love about this competition. The Western media can say all they want, but I think this tournament just brought back the respect that this competition so much deserves.